Hun, Dave Della Sola, Director of Guam Department of Labor, and Dr. Mary Okada, President of the Guam Community College. And now to Governor Leon Guerrero for her welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Janella. Excuse me. Hafadin, good afternoon. It is a great honor and certainly a very welcome news today that I announced that finally our DOL, our Department of Labor Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Program also has been launched. And we have been working over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks to get this program going. And I think it's a great success story for us, knowing that we never had a unemployment insurance program. And as a result of the CARES Act that was passed, and as a result of us being eligible for the programs, and as a result of us being funded for this unemployment program of about $960 million, we have feverishly, and the Department of Labor, DOA, and other key people, GCC, has feverishly worked together to be able to provide this program and benefit to us. As a result of that, we have developed a really complicated, what is a complicated infrastructure we did in a matter of less than 2 months. I think that's a great success for our Department of Labor, all in the name of putting money into the hands of our people. It's been now 12 weeks since we have declared public health emergency on our island. It's been 12 weeks since I have asked you to stay home. I have asked you to close your businesses. I have asked you to not congregate. I have asked you to basically shelter in place, and you have complied to those requests, all in the name of protecting our community and saving our community's lives. As a result of that, we are now, as you know, recovering, and we are lifting as many restrictions as we can, given the data and the science that we are tracking and monitoring. And I have to say that it's been a very encouraging journey, and I hope to make sure that we try to get back to as normal as we can with our lives, and to get back again into our economy doing better, get back our people working. But in the meantime, there has to be some bridge of an assistance. And the federal government, like I have said, passed this program, and we are now recipients of this program. And this will give us and our employees great help. It would give us the necessary bridge to, again, rebuild our economy, bring back our businesses, bring back our tourism. And I just want to thank Dave Del Sola for his leadership in this situation. And so we are now able to, online, you're now able to apply for this benefit. We have done over the weekend some testing, and now we are ready to move it forward. There are going to be some glitches, and we ask for your patience when that happens, because like I said, it's a new program. It's a new program that's being implemented. We've done the testing that is needed, but I'm pretty sure there is going to be some glitches, and we ask for your patience again. What this would do is it would, again, allow the bi-weekly help of some funding and some finance to our people who are unemployed as a result of the COVID virus pandemic, or whose hours have been reduced. So I'll let Dave talk more in detail, and Dr. Okada also, because she's been really very helpful in making sure that there is going to be the space and for these for this application. I also just want to quickly say that there's been over 1,100 employers that have registered, and now we are counting about 21,000 employees that have been directly affected with the COVID and have been registered. And as the applications move forward, what will happen is once you apply, you're eligible and you're approved, within 21 days of that, you will be getting your checks in the mail biweekly or even through electronic funds transfer, which is the quicker way. So I encourage all of you to make sure that you have accounts and that you are directing the Department of Labor to deposit the checks through electronic funds transfer. I also want to say that to date, we have 175 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with again maintaining our fatality at 5. We have 144 that have recovered and 24 active cases. So our recovery rate is about 83%. And again, that's a great outcome to see, and we continue to increase that percentage of recovery. So I want to take this opportunity now to ask Dave to talk more about this program and how you can participate and be a recipient of this program. Dave?
Thank you, Governor. Is this working okay? Okay. Yes. I'm nervously happy to say that the program went live on Saturday morning. We've been working with the software vendor on the hit list of things that we were constantly going back and forth with. And we wanted to do this quietly so that we could test the system and its integrity and work out whatever bugs, because this is the first time that we saw this program live. The working model is always different because it's always changing and it's limited in its functionality. And so now that it's live, we called in a few employers, we called in a few people to be beta testers and put in actual claims. But of course, once it's live and everybody's been checking it, everybody started putting in claims. To date, this morning, I should say, we've had over 4,000 claims initiated. And the reason why I'm trying to say and beg a little bit of patience and not everybody go out and do this yet is because we're just starting to stand up our infrastructure. As far as on Friday, I'm happy to say that the MOA with GCC to stand up our processing center was delivered. And as we speak today, we're first moving in with our people who have been detailed and hired to start going in there and standing up and start to get trained on this new system that which they weren't able to do previously. And I wanted to, I asked Dr. Okada, because she was an integral part in this standing up this center and this processing center to help us get this along. And I asked her to say a few words, if you would.
Hafa and good afternoon. First of all, thank you, Governor, and it's nice to see you. It's been a long time, and thank you, David. When there's an opportunity to step forth and help to serve the community, the Guam Community College is there. And so when we learned that Guam was going to set up the processing center for unemployment, David and I connected and I said, let GCC help you. We have a facility on campus. It was the renovation of Building 100 that was completed towards the end of the last semester and has not been occupied in terms of classrooms until only the faculty offices where people moved in. And so the classrooms were available. So we identified 10 classrooms at the Guam Community College, in addition to 2 areas, the student lounge and the workout room upstairs that will serve as the call centers. And so with the help of our MIS team, and so they were able to set up a total of about 80 computers that were redirected from other areas of the campus to help facilitate, because we knew that the procuring of computers would take time, and GCC had the equipment to support this effort. So we activated 80 computers, had them all wired and connected. We were very fortunate that Xerox stepped up and helped us. So we have copying machines that are available for their use. And we were able to get 34 telephone lines into the building temporarily. So the community college was set up and ready to go. And although the MOA was just completely signed and delivered last Friday, the community college was ready to go on May 11th. And so I contribute that to the staff that worked really hard to get this thing going. We knew that the sooner we can get it up and running, the sooner we could help support this mission. And so we've been very fortunate, and I'm very thankful to all the employees that helped make this happen. And so our partnership is great, and we just wanted to step up and help where we could.
Yes, I can't say enough about our partnership with the GCC, with the apprenticeship programs and our training programs and education programs with our displaced workers and unemployed workers. And it was a natural fit, and she was able to save so much time and effort with setting up a brand new building basically for us and getting it all in line. So with that, I'd like to start the video, and then I can go into more specifics.
Half a day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Programs, HireGuam.com. Half a day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process, as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive pool benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least 3 different employers about job openings. Be sure to upload a valid government-issued ID and supporting documents to strengthen your claim. Congratulations! You have completed the PUA claim filing process. It's time to file your weekly claim. Click on the File Your Weekly Claim button to proceed. Read through the explanation of the weekly certification process and advisories before proceeding. Notice that the weekly certification process begins the week in which you claimed as your last day of work. Answer each page honestly and input additional information as required. However, if you have since returned to work, be sure that on the weekly claim of the day you returned, you adjust your weekly earnings accordingly. Congratulations! You have filed your weekly claim. Make sure you file for all previous weeks you were affected to present. Now continue to file every week thereafter to receive unemployment benefits for those weeks. For more information on how the Guam Department of Labor can assist you, visit our website at dol.guam.gov.
I'd like to thank my communications team for creating that. It's like an introductory tutorial. We are currently with the live version creating an extensive tutorial and step-by-step process that we will be making available as soon as it's done. So I'd like to just kind of quickly go through that. Although the process is live and people are starting to apply, there are some issues and bugs that we continue to address. Today happens to be Sunday in the States, so tomorrow a lot of those issues will be hopefully rectified and get cleaned up. And as in any place that, or like a restaurant that opens up, you don't want to go the first day or two when it's open. Please wait. Give us a few minutes to give us a few days to stand up and get the software cleaned up and get it ready with all the glitches. And whenever we find out there's any problems, we're getting it addressed as quickly as possible. As we said, we just walked into GCC today. We're starting to stand up all the staff for the first time and getting them familiar with the system and getting them prepared to answer the phones for the call center. So I think I'm asking that it's better. It's not going to get you paid any quicker for wait a few days until the help process is there so that you have the infrastructure when you have a question or you need help, it's there to help you. Because the few early adopters that are having problems, some of those problems have to be addressed individually through staff. You have to remember, this is a UI program. The terms a lot of people aren't familiar with are things that we can't mess with. They are fixed in the UI world and software. So like helpful hints that I want to make sure that you understand. The word unemployment in the UI is the time that you are affected. It could be the time you're reduced in hours, laid off, or furloughed. So you may still be working, but reduced. But that first time that you're reduced is when you were first unemployed in the UI world. And that you would put that date as the first day that you were affected. So that's just a few things. We are currently working with DOA and to stand up the payment side of the software. That's moving along very well now. And since the states have been open, with Washington State being one of the first, if you've been reading about this program, they've been inundated with West African fraud rings going in there, and they're basically taking into effect the previous hacks, like the Experian software hack, and they're using those data to go in and make false claims. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been stolen and taken from the states. This is a sample of the story. Hawaii being one of the latest ones that have been hit. And initially, like Washington, they've had to change the quickness of their playing the claims, because before the emphasis was getting the claims out fast. And because of that, people were able to take advantage of it in foreign countries and hacked in and have stolen hundreds of millions. So they've had to now go back and institute more corrective measures, which delay payments. And of course, people don't like that. So I initially, at the onset of this program, have tried to put an integrity in there, as I've always said. And this integrity is to make sure that the money that we get goes to our people and not some foreign African tribe or whatever that's going after us. So with those measures, we are working with the payment side. The software company that we're working has come up with some additional integrities that they're putting in. And you will notice that our software talks to the employer side. And if you enter the same serial number as the employer did, it'll ask you to verify the company that you've worked with. More than half of our problems have stemmed from users. Some not knowing what the term unemployment means. Some not knowing the company that they work for because it's a DBA and the employer entered a corporate name, so they weren't sure what the date is. Some have been asking help from their brothers or their cousins, and they've put in wrong information, from wrong social security numbers to putting the middle initial into the first names, to a myriad of things that when they go back, they can't seem to correct because they weren't, they go back in and put their name in without the middle initial. So these are things that are typical when a complicated program that we have, and that we're working on it. So if you wait until we work out some of these bug kinks, it'll help you when you go in, get a clean and easy claim. And we're trying to put in everything that we can. I ask for your patience. This is a complicated UI program. This is not something that's easy to do, and I've made it as simple as I can, but the terminologies are often difficult to understand. As we're standing up GCC, we're also beginning to train the employers. There's a lot of employers out there that have reached out who want to help their employees. So a lot of these employees, don't ruin it by going online and messing up your claim. Wait until the employers are there to help you. They know the exact day that you're affected. They know the exact name of the company. They can assist you with those questions that are difficult to understand. And also the self-employed is also another difficulty. You got to make sure that you understand the date that you're affected. You need to know what your previous income was for that work week. So there's a lot of things, and we'll get through it. With a few days of patience, we'll stand up GCC and we'll get everybody online and with phone numbers. We've had difficulties today with the 311 system. It's not in our control. So we're putting out a press release on some of the new numbers, 735-0527 through 32. As our staff gets trained up, they'll be ready to answer the phone calls. Those are the numbers. We've started a PUA hotline email address for those who are having problems, pua.hotline@gdol.guam.gov. We'll put a press release with all this information out from you. And I want to again thank my staff. There's only been a handful of us working tirelessly trying to get and understand this uh, software and get it up and get it going. The quarantine has always been a challenge when we've had detailed staff, and we're trying to get them prepared for this day. And now that it's live, they're up and running. And give us a few days. I hope that we can get all this done. So understand that once you submit a claim, that's only half. Then you next need to go in and do your weekly claims to follow to tell the system will calculate how much you'll be getting from there on out. So thank you very much for your patience. And I'm asking it again as we start moving into phase 2. And I'll hope that we can just get through this and get it out and start getting people trained up. The FSM consulate is going to be training with us too, so that they can help their citizens apply. We're going to stand up the mayors, some of the libraries, as we get the people trained. So there will be satellite facilities other than GCC in small numbers, but we will have that out as we get rolling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. We'll open up the floor to some questions now. We'll start with PNC Kevin Kerrigan.
Good afternoon, everyone. This question is for Dave Della Sola. Dave, if I understood correctly, you said you had 5,000 who have already applied online. The governor, I believe, mentioned that 21,000 or so unemployed had registered. Can you give these people a timeline, a reference point for how long it will take before the kinks are worked out and the checks are in the mail to them?
As the governor mentioned, I have a 21 working day time limit for once a claim is accepted. Of course, my hope is to get it out quicker. And I'm working to make sure that those integrities that are in place for the payments and that we have the processes all in line. So I'd like to do it faster, and we'll see how that works out. I will keep you abreast, as we are able to solve all those issues. But right now I'm concentrating on the application and getting the people applied correctly and get their weekly claims in.
So you're saying 21 days, 3 weeks, is that what we're looking at before the first checks go out?
That's by reg. That doesn't mean that's when I'm going to get it out. We're, like I said, we're working with DOA is working with the software vendor to get in all the information for the payment module side of it. I hope that can be done fairly quickly and put in a few pieces of integrity that help with the security of fraud and any breaches that might happen. And if that is in place sooner than later, then of course we'll get the EFTs cut. I think those can happen very quickly, and then of course this followed by the checks.
Could I just add something, Kevin? So this program required that employers register. So all along the last few weeks, employers were registering by going into hireguam.com, .gov, I think, .com. And what they were also required was to submit a listing of their employees who are either unemployed, furloughed, or reduced hours. So that's where we see the 1,100 employers registered and the 21,000 employees that are either unemployed, reduced hours, or furloughed. So even though your employer has listed you in registration, the employees still have to go in and apply in order to be verified and approved for the benefit. So I just want to make sure the employees don't just assume that they're already applied for by the listing given to by the employers.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, Dave, can I ask you to clarify the role more precisely of GCC in this? I gather that's the office where the checks and applications will be processed, but how about for those people that don't have internet access? Can they go directly to GCC and seek help filling out an application online, or what's their role?
Okay, I think you're a little confused. GCC role is going to be a processing center, a call-in center, and a hotline center. And yes, once we stand up the processing center by appointment only, we will start to see those people who do not have internet, who need the services. They will be directed to come in. Of course, we're limited in the number of computers and the space and the people that we can train. That's why we're reaching out to the employers and asking them to step up. The FSM community, like I said, will be taking care of the citizens. That's just for putting in an application and getting it processed. The checks will be, or the EFTs will be handled through DOA.
There's also going to be other sites for this application process. We're trying to put it out into the community as much as we can. So there's going to be some of the satellite libraries that are out there. Barrigada, I think, is one that they will be using for applications. So what DOL will do is send out a announcement and PSA on where these sites are, so people will know to go to those places.
And always, I recommend, as has been said, that everybody go get your bank account and do the EFTs, because that's the fastest way for payments to come to you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next is PDN, Anamita Kaur.
Good afternoon. So David, is there a goal date for when this processing center will be open for residents to begin making appointments to come in and fill out their applications?
Well, we're starting to train the people, and they have a basic understanding. But now that we have the space, they can finally come in and start going online and seeing the system, and we can start training them and offer them until they feel comfortable enough. So we want to get this up as quickly as possible. So I don't have an exact timeline as far as when it'll be up, because once it's up, then we have to start an organized by appointment approach to start getting people processed. And that's another difficulty, that we just don't want to have long lines. We want to make sure that we are still practicing the safe distancing and not having people have mile-long lines. So it will only be by appointment only. And we will get out those instructions as soon as we have it all worked out.
But to clarify, there's not yet a goal date as to when a resident can call in and make that appointment.
I can't give you the exact date. It'll be sooner than later.
Okay, and this could be for either you, the director, or the governor. However, I understand that this unemployment assistance program comes from the CARES Act. However, this of course has shed a light in terms of the lack of unemployment insurance program on Guam in the first place. Are there any plans to pursue a long-term unemployment insurance program beyond this pandemic?
So we are already in discussions, because now we have the infrastructure. And yes, I would like to pursue an unemployment insurance program here for our employees on Guam. So I think doing this infrastructure is just going to be a little bit easier in making that decision.
Thank you, Anamita.
Okay.
Next is KOAM, Nestor Lecanto.
Yes, good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon, Dave and Doctor. First question is, what were the most common mistakes in the testing? And do you anticipate that the biggest, hurdle will be the actual applications themselves, applicant errors?
Yes, There are some glitches with the software, but they are the biggest amount of user errors are from people not paying attention to things that they put in, and putting in the wrong dates, putting in the wrong information, not understanding the terms or the questions, and they're just guessing, and then they're just trying to move it forward. The biggest one being the unemployment date in the first place. If they answer that wrong, the system will limit you to how far back you can go. And it's very important that you can't go back and change it, because you can't go around and just keep changing and how much money you're going to be getting. It is something that has to be staff driven, because of the this is a UI program, and it's very rigid as far as making changes once you've put checked off something and then you submit it. So that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of where you think that, the biggest, I guess, roadblock is going to be, if it's going to be with the application process itself, and maybe Dr. Okada could address this. Shouldn't we have a lot more respondents to help people do their applications with the computers?
Well, that's why we're standing up the processing center. There'll be a call center, and there'll also be a hotline for you to ask questions. It's just everything is coming in as we speak. So that's why I've asked for a little bit more patience, so that the proper infrastructure and support behind the application gets stood up. And then also those employers that are trained up, and the different the SHRM communities, and people like Joanne Camacho, who's here, who's going to be leading the charge. When they have a good understanding of the application process, then they can in turn assist people to apply, their employees, and hopefully their families, whatever that they can do. That's the best way to help everybody, because of the massive amount of people that are going to be applying. It's not going to be handled just by the processing center alone. And that's why from the initial go, I've been saying we need to rally together as an island and help everybody. And
that's what I was kind of getting at that, Dave. Shouldn't the employers themselves be able to help their employees? Because most businesses do have access to computers. So if you could train the trainers, so to speak, and get the actual employers to help their employees, because I'm sure they want to help their employees themselves. Wouldn't that be help expedite this, since the biggest hurdle is going to be, as you said, the actual application process?
And you're perfectly correct. And that's what I was saying. We need to, once we stand up the processing center and the training center, we can start calling the employers in and start training them so that they can better prepare their employees. I totally agree with you.
Thank you, Nestor. Guam Daily Post, Heidi Eugenio Gilbert.
Hi, good afternoon, Director. There have been calls, or there are calls to give people the option of paper filing. Will Guam Labor consider this, especially after announcing that those who need assistance, those who need computer with online, with internet access, they have to wait until GCC's processing center open. So are you saying that those who don't have computers right now, they just have to wait for GCC?
Unfortunately, yes. I was advised by the COVID medical group that they didn't want applications going out and going, changing hands and people filling it out and then submitting them in piles. And then there's no control mechanisms for the release and acceptance of the applications. So we stopped that process, and this quarantining, so it's just making things more difficult, and that's always been a challenge to me. And that was what I was advised to do, the err and the side of caution when it comes to the spread of this COVID.
So I think maybe we need to, and maybe Dr. Okada can talk more about the process at the center, but people that don't have internet can go to the processing center, and there will be people there that would help them with the input of the information. So I visualize it as someone facing a person, and that employee is telling the person their information, and that person is inputting the data and the information. That could be the assistance also at the processing center. So Dave is actually correct in trying to minimize face-to-face, trying to minimize paper. And in that way, we're minimizing exposure that we don't really have to. So that's why online is much more the preferred way to to provide the information and the application for these benefits. And employers are very helpful. They're more than willing to help out their employees in helping them with their application, because it's for the benefit of their employee and also for them. Do you want to add anything there, Dr. Okada?
How the community college has set up is that typically in a classroom that would normally have 20 tables, for example, the classrooms have been set up for 6 to 8 stations that are socially distanced with minimum of 3 feet between each check-in section. And so that has been set up already. There will be people that will assist. There are also going to be people monitoring the number of participants that enter the building. There is going to be a certain designated parking. We highly discourage anyone from bringing additional family members onto the campus. We would ask that that we only have the applicant or those that needs assistance to come into the campus. There is someone that will take your temperature as you enter the campus, and you will be monitored as to what area of the building E that you would be allowed to enter. So there is a lot of monitoring that is going to take place, but yes, it is set up so that people can actually sit there and assist you with your application process.
And we will allow for, we're also going to be doing call-in applications too. So once that is up, those people that maybe the older ones, the Manumcos, we don't want them to be coming in, that we can help them over the phone, and we will actually do their application over the phone while reading everything to them. So there's a number of ways that we're trying to get this application filled out for the people depending on their needs.
Director, just clarification. If by the current regulations or rules require you to take action within 21 days of the filing of the claim, does that mean that by June 22nd, we should have most of the payments? I mean, most people who applied today, which is like 4,000, 5,000, as you mentioned, they should expect payments by June 22 or earlier than that?
That's what the reg says, but those that filed a successful and clean claim, then yes. The regs say that you're supposed to make payment from 21 days after they've successfully filed. Of course, we hope to make it sooner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. K57, Patty Arroyo. I don't see Patty, so we'll circle back if she comes back in. We'll move on to Mariana's Business Journal, Wayne Chargaloff.
Good day, everyone. For Mr. De La Sola, my question is, in the news lately, there have been stories that in other jurisdictions, people have needed to wait up to 10 weeks to receive payment after applying. What are your thoughts on the reasons for that, and what is Guam DOL doing to prevent those kinds of scenarios happening here?
That's a good question. And the problem with as with everybody, is this is such a new program, and this is different from anything that we're used to. And is just people are getting inundated. We're dealing with upwards of maybe 40,000. They're dealing with tens of millions, and the systems are just overloaded, and the people aren't prepared to deal with the numbers that they're doing. And that's something that is in a much smaller scale, but is similar what we're facing with this quarantining. It would have been so much easier just to call everybody in a room, get them all trained up, go to an auditorium, and get everybody to come in, just like we've done in the typhoons. And you can't do that. Everything has been a challenge, from getting the money to getting the accounts to getting everything put in place, because it's all new. It's never been done. And we just continue just to keep chipping away and doing the best that we can. And that's all I can do. There's just so many facets to this that are new, and I just trying to solve them all as best as we can and move forward and get this money out as quick as possible with the kind of integrity that we get, so that when we ask for that second allotment, that there isn't gaping holes of fraud or people filing false claims. So that's why it's important that the island knows that when you put in that application, you need to self-certify yourself. I mean, I've even gotten reports that there are companies out there that are charging anywhere from $100 to $500 to do your PUA application for you. Now, the AG is aware of it, and what we're asking is to make sure that the people need to self-certify yourself. This is a lot of money, and that the federal government takes it very seriously, that you are certifying that the information is true and correct, and it's not being done by somebody else.
Thank you. And for my second question, it's my understanding that PUA and FPUC funds will be garnished for child support. Could you speak on the process of that, especially how long it will take, basically between like garnishment and the child support recipients receiving their funds?
The claims forms has a section there for people who are having to pay child support. And again, you are certifying by penalty of federal law. That's where you put in your child support information of whether you make payments and how much. The child support division at the AG's office is also working with the software vendor and their software vendor to ensure that there are integrity measures put into place too. So it will be addressed, and it is being addressed.
Do you foresee a long delay though as it goes through the AG's office or the child support process?
I don't think so. It should be automated, and I'm not familiar with the child support, and it's what it is all about for me to make any more comment than this whole system is automated. So it's supposed to catch everything in the forefront.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Next is I-94, Adriana Cotero.
Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Can you guys hear me okay? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So I wanted to go back to an oversight hearing, Governor, that happened a couple weeks ago. It was in regards to the first wave of quarantine facilities, and it was done in an effort to understand procurement details. Your legal counsel, Haig Hun, had read a statement permitted by you to the Guam lawmakers that indicated that Homeland Security Advisor Tim Uggan had essentially dropped the ball on procurement for the facilities, and then at your instruction, your legal counsel took over. But since that hearing, Uggan has reached out to the minority leader, Senator Telo-Taigui, even the lieutenant governor, saying that this is not true. And the lieutenant governor telling KUAM this morning on our I-94 FM containing COVID interactive weekday talk show, which can be heard now and streamed on KUAM's Facebook and YouTube, which I recommend all listen to. But Lieutenant Governor explaining how he received messages from Uggan over the weekend saying that he was not involved and not instructed to do any procurement. So it's still a little unclear, and I was wondering if you could please just clarify if he was involved or not at that time, and who was in charge of the procurement for the GovGuam quarantine facilities. Can you confirm if it was Tim Uggan?
So the purchasing or the procurement of the facilities, the quarantine, safe haven, and so forth is a Homeland Security responsibility. And when we started having these cases, and we saw that there was the need to quarantine travelers from outside, because the contacts source for these positive cases were from the outside. The procurement started with the Homeland Security. The involvement of the legal counsel was to negotiate the terms and conditions, and he did that. However, I felt that it was not going as fast as it should be. Therefore, I instructed the legal counsel to quickly purchase these services and to quickly come up with the negotiations, the terms and conditions. And that's what happened.
So, okay, so just to clarify though, HSA is who was first in charge. Correct?
It is
it's
by,
under them for
yes, by the,
okay.
I think it's our pandemic plan, or by just the Homeland Security being the individual entity that's in charge of disasters and in charge of crisis and disasters. They are the lead agency. They're the lead agency for the logistics, the procurement, the supplies, together with the Office of Civil Defense, just like we do when there is a typhoon.
Well, okay, so then before I get to my next question, if I could just ask you then, what's your response to him saying, Tim Uggan saying that he wasn't involved or didn't have a hand in any of this?
I can't speak for him, and I don't know what happened, what the conversations were with you guys, but again, the Homeland Security was the lead agency. It was not moving as fast as it should be, at least to my expectations. And that's why I instructed the legal team to continue on with the negotiations so we can move on and get the facilities.
Okay, for my next question, I know last week yourself and Lieutenant Governor, you guys went to the Teason baseball field and you saw the commodities distribution happening. And in speaking with GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez, he said he extended the invite to you in hopes of creating a comprehensive food support plan. And we know that, you know, with the CARES Act funding guidance, it allows for feeding assistance. So after seeing the need firsthand, and we know GDOE is working on determining a third site in the South right now. So are there plans to further enhance this program into a mass feeding program?
This program initially is the Emergency Food Assistance Program that's being done every week, I think, or every month. And it came out of the SNAP program. So it's a supplement to the SNAP program. And what has happened as a result of this pandemic is the federal government allowed this program to expand, and it's now called, I think, the Disaster Household Program. And so there is that continued food distribution for our people, and anyone can come for these food packages.
Thank you, Adriana. The point, Nick Delgado.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on getting to this point. Hopefully that people can finally start receiving this benefit that you guys have been working hard to obtain for the island. But Dave, just to clarify, so are there ongoing investigations or complaints into any employers or companies that are charging people to fill out the PUA applications on Guam? I mean, I know it was said that the AG is aware of this, but can employers essentially charge for this service, or would it be considered illegal?
No, they're not supposed to be charging it. And the initial look was, no, they weren't making it mandatory. They were just providing a service, especially to some that may be challenged in putting in an application and understanding it. They were going to charge them to take it from cradle to grave all the way through for them. And I didn't want to get into specifics of, because I didn't know what company was doing it and whether they have the right licenses or the proper able to do it. That's a whole separate thing. I was more concerned in was number one, that it wasn't mandatory, and number two, that the employee make sure that they are there when they self-certify. That's the whole point of it, is that the information that you're putting into the claim is true and correct, and that you certify that it is. And if somebody's doing it for you without it, then that kind of defeats that purpose.
Yeah, and so are you aware if there are any ongoing investigations or complaints, as you were saying that that's not allowed?
I'm not aware of any investigations, or they're just brought to our awareness.
Okay.
And we just did an initial look through. I just have everybody working on this program, so things are not as normal.
Yeah, was it just one incident that was brought to your, or was it multiple incidents?
There was, I think, 2 instances, and it was enough for me just to do a quick initial review, just go straight to the company, and they said that it wasn't a mandatory thing. Like I said, it was a voluntary service that he was trying to provide for their employees. And I said, okay, just as long as it's not mandatory. And then the others were more of, they've heard others doing the same type of thing, and we haven't taken the time to go out and vet it down and do any investigations on it.
Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of penalties or what they could face if they are caught doing such a thing.
And it could run the whole gamut of things depending on what kind of company you are and how you're doing it. And again, there's just so many nuances to the questions that would take a lot of time and investigations. I'd rather nip it as quickly as possible and make sure that the businesses are aware, that we are aware of it, and that the AG is aware of it, and then hopefully everything just kind of follows proper and legal methods.
Yeah. All right. My second question is for the Gov. I'm wondering how day one went for a lot of your government of Guam agencies. It's opening of day one. But my question really, Gov, is about, I wanted to get your take about the news that Philippine Airlines is resuming its Manila Guam flights in, I think it's 10 or 11 days from now, especially with the new spike of COVID-19 cases that we're seeing from other parts of the region, including South Korea.
So we are still putting in the measures that we need to put in to prevent our more increase in COVID cases. Nick, we are requiring quarantine. They have a choice of being quarantined at their homes if it's able to be used, and or quarantine at the government facility. We are also going to be requiring that these people, as they board, that they show a test results that indicate whether they are positive or negative. And so that's something that we are going to be working with the airlines to be part of the requirement in order for them to embark and come to Guam. So although we are going to be seeing more Philippine Airlines, and of course we as airlines are opening up, we are going to ramp up and we are going to reinforce and we are going to increase our contact monitoring and increasing our, of course, continue on with quarantine for those who are returning residents.
Okay, but once those flights reopen in the next couple of weeks, Gov, it's clear to say that if you are a Guam resident coming home in the next couple of weeks, at present, you still are subject to that mandatory quarantine in the government facilities.
You are subject to a quarantine, yes, either at home or at a government facility.
Oh,
So
okay.
quarantine is required.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Closing remarks, Governor.
I just wanted to again say to the community that this PUA program and this federal pandemic unemployment compensation program is a benefit again for our people to be able to have a bridge over their period of unemployment, decrease in hours or furloughing. It is again an assistance. It is a temporary assistance, and our people should take advantage of it. But I must say that we should have as our end goal to get back into employment. Our end goal should be to, again, improve our economy, get our businesses back up to speed. There are a lot of financial programs and loan programs, grants, and so forth to help our businesses. As you know, our businesses are the key and the influencer for our economy here on island. And the preference, of course, is sustained employment. I also want to thank Dave De La Sola. I wanted to thank him and his great team that have gone through such a complicated program and have tried to simplify it as much as possible, tried to make it user-friendly as much as possible. And I also want to thank Dr. Mary Okada for stepping in and helping out with the processing and the call center and the hotlines. And we're doing everything we can to provide the assistance to make this program easier and much more efficient for our people to be to apply and to be registered. And we are going to quickly as we can put the money into the hands of our people. And so Department of Administration is also working very feverishly to make sure that once they get these approved eligible claims that they pay those out right away. And as Dave said, we are going to pay them quicker than 21 days after they've been approved. So again, I want to say thank you for the patience. I know that this has been a long journey to get to where we are today. But I must say that from our side, from our administration, we have worked quickly and effectively as we can, working with our federal partners. Dave was very on task, talking to his counterparts and his people from the U.S. Department of Labor. And I think through his very persuasive arguments and his very persuasive comments to the Department of Labor, he worked closely with the federal government at the White House level. And through that, we were able to be eligible for the federal pandemic unemployment program. And we were eligible to have our implementation plan accepted. And we were eligible then to start with the accounts and the monies that have been given to our islands. So again, I can't thank Dave enough, and of course, Dr. Mary Okada.